What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy and welcome to an FPL video, a proper one this week for Game Week 20. Obviously last week for Game Week 19 was pre-recorded, but this time I've had a chance to look at what's happened and talk about what's coming up in the next week, or the next game week at least, Game Week 20. Obviously they're coming thick and fast at the moment. Hope you all had a great Christmas. For those celebrating, happy holidays again. I'm basically full of turkey and beer at this point and ready to explode. But we're back. I'm back home now, back from my week away in England. So hopefully the videos and streams will continue as normally as they can over the festive period. And then obviously going into the 2019, they'll be fully back to normal. So I'm going to take a quick look at Game Week 18 and 19, as well as a preview towards Game Week 20. So I don't know how long this one will be at the time I start recording it, but it'll probably be a little bit of a long one. The reason I want to talk about Game Week 18 is because I had such an awful week, and one thing I will never do is shy away from the awful decisions that I sometimes make, or often in some seasons, and it's basically on the screen. Son out, Salah out, what an idiot. And sometimes you look back at decisions and there's logic there, and you can't regret them too much even if they go wrong, but I think I got this completely wrong, and I think if I looked back at it again and made that transfer again, or looked at making that transfer again, I don't think I'd do it. I took Salah and Son out for Sané and Hazard. It was almost fear of missing out because Sané and Sterling and Man City were doing so well, and Hazard's been doing really well as well. And obviously he did good in Game Week 19, which we'll come on to in a minute. But I took Salah and Son out, and I think when I look back at things I said about those two players, with Salah I said, yeah, he's got 3 bad fixtures in the next 5. When we were counting the Man United game, but I also said he's only got 1 in the next 3, and he could be captain material against Newcastle. And I didn't necessarily have a good captain there. As it turns out, I had Hazard, which was fine, but so that was a mistake. For Son, I kept saying things like, I think he's the best midfield option at Spurs. I think he's the best attacking option at Spurs. He could outscore Kane. I think up until he goes away for the Asia Cup, he can keep up with Sané and Sterling if he gets minutes, which he has been. I just think he's that good when he plays, and he's shown that he has. And he scored 3 goals and 3 assists, or maybe even more, 4 goals, I think, over the last couple of games. So it really was a stupid transfer. And obviously, people ask me if I regret it. Of course I do. Who doesn't regret losing out on about 36 points? But yeah, it was fear of missing out, basically. I was worried about not owning Sané and Hazard, and I forgot the number 1 rule this season, which is you can't own them all. So not much more to say about Game Week 18. It was a write-off. Aubameyang did well for me, but that was about it. It's one of the worst weeks I've had so far this season. I dropped from 24k right down to just inside the top 65k, which, considering I've been ranked in 7,000 this year, is just really bad. Now, it's not the worst position going into the second half of the season. There's lots of points to be won, so to speak. But yeah, it was just an awful week. Salah and Son out. What an idiot. Let's look at Game Week 19. So Game Week 19 was much, much better, is an understatement. I got 79 points. I didn't even make a transfer. Basically decided that I was being too aggressive over Christmas, which is something I said I probably wouldn't do on streams. And that, yes, I could have got a Man United player in. I really wanted Martial, and obviously we got that news that he hadn't travelled with the squad, and there was lots of conversation around whether that meant he'd miss out or not. But basically, when you get that news as an FPL manager, if you've not already made the move, you act on it, and you act on it by saying, look, he may not be in the squad. Why would I take the risk? So I didn't go for Martial. I actually ended up keeping Felipe Anderson because of that. Would I have 100% gone for it? I'm not sure, but that was the move I was looking at, either Anderson or Sterling out for Martial. So in the end, I just stuck with what I had. Alonso blanked again, which is frustrating. Like I've said, I've got no real problem with getting rid of him. I just haven't needed the money yet, so I've kind of kept him on that basis. Wan-Bissaka came through again, absolute value, man. I'll probably never get rid of him all season. Just those home games, he mops up the bonus as well. He's a really nice player to have. I captain Hazard, and I won't lie, is basically I had an awful week the week before. I decided not to make any transfers. It was him or Man City players. I just thought Man City have just lost to Palace. Didn't really have confidence in captain either of those players. I was never going to captain Felipe Anderson or Richarlison anyway. Looked at Aubameyang for a brief moment, but I thought Hazard's been in pretty good form. He's on penalties, which is obviously how the second goal came, which was nice. So I went for him. He kind of bailed me out. But I think Hazard's been in such good form this season. I don't know if you can really call it a bailout. Someone told me that he saved my week, and I guess he kind of did. But that's why you kind of have that's why I made the move the week before, right? So to the fear of missing out, and I didn't want to miss out on a big haul, and it came. So that was nice. And Felipe Anderson was just the icing on the cake on on the last game of the game week, and that put me up about 10,000 places, so up to 54,000. So I've already regained 10,000 of the 40,000 I've lost. It's a long way to go, but hopefully we can make some moves this week using the 2 free transfers and start climbing up the rankings again. But yeah, Richarlison bench was a bit frustrating, but he did come off and get those points. And obviously City worries now. Sané and Sterling, a few game weeks ago, they looked essential. And now people are looking at going without any Man City mids, so we'll talk about that in the preview. And Aubameyang continues, said that he looked pretty good value versus Kane. Obviously, there's not much money in it, but it is a little bit of a saving. So I've been happy with Aubameyang up until this point. But we're going to talk about that a bit more in the Game Week 20 preview because a few people have asked me about that. So Game Week 19, much better. Overall points are 1,163. And I'm getting closer to getting back inside the top 50k. Not where I want to be come the end of the season, but still a good starting point, so to speak, to kick on for the rest of the season. Okay, so Game Week 20, the more interesting part of this video, and to try and keep the video down to a minimum amount of minutes as I can, I've gone for the key questions that people ask me, rather than anything too specific. So the first one, what to do with Son. Obviously, if you've got him, you keep him. You could even captain him this week. If you haven't got him, what do you do? So you basically, for anyone that doesn't know, he's going to the Asia Cup. Spurs came to an agreement with them to let him stay for one extra match. So although people said that's great, he stays for a bit longer because of the FA Cup and stuff, the break there, he only gets one extra match and it's Man United at home. So whatever you say about Man United's defensive frailties, that Spurs are obviously in good form, that's not probably a match you expect too much from Son from. Sure, he could score or assist or, maybe even get double attacking returns. Of course it's possible. But I think generally that's the kind of match you wouldn't expect too many returns in. So the other two you're looking at are Wolves at home and Cardiff away. And obviously people tweet me and they say the time to get him was 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Fully aware of that. But at this point, we can't worry about those points. We can only look forward. Now, I think if you're going to bring him in and captain him, and you're 100% confident that he starts, then I think you can still bring him in. Wolves and Cardiff are good fixtures, and then after Man United, you could look to offload him. He's a good price point for maybe a Man United midfielder or something like that. And obviously, after that game, Man United would have got their Spurs fixture out of the way as well. So you could do something like that. You could use him to fund maybe a Salah move or whatever it might be. You could downgrade Felipe Anderson, something like that. So I think there's a good reason to get him in. Now, obviously some people, myself included, are worried that at some point he's going to get rotated. We've seen him be rested a few game weeks ago. And he does come off the bench, which is a good thing for him. So even if he does start on the bench, likelihood is he will come on for the last 20-25 minutes of the game. So if you're not going to captain him this week, I'm not so sure I'd be bringing him in. You've got Wolves and Cardiff. He's in great form, don't get me wrong. The amount of goals and assists he's scored over the last kind of 6 to 8 game weeks is insane. But I just think you're basically bringing him in for 2 fixtures, hoping he gets something versus Man United, and then having to transfer him out. So it's a transfer in this week, and in 3 game weeks' time, it's another transfer to get rid of him. So I think if you captain him, definitely. If you're 100% certain that he starts the next 2 games, then even then I think you could bring him in. If you're a little bit wary like me, I'm probably going to go without him and just hope that this ridiculous scoring form tails off a little bit. But it's definitely risky at this point to go without him. He looks in great form, and obviously I'm completely devastated that I ever sold him. But yeah, I just think for 3 fixtures maximum, I'm probably not going to bring him in this week. So that brings us on to City players, Man City players. Obviously, a lot of people getting cold feet on them for very good reasons. And they're now 3rd in the league. Who would have thought that? I think a lot of us thought they would just run away with it again this year. The question here is, obviously, the points that have already been not scored over the last couple of game weeks, they've gone. There's no point in worrying about that. The question is, will they get points going forward? So if you look at the fixtures, you've got Southampton away, Liverpool at home, which is going to be a tough one, Wolves at home, Huddersfield away, and Newcastle away. So quite a few away games there. The question is, do you think Man City have gone that far backwards that they now can't score 2-3 goals against the teams they got coming up? I think they probably can. I know people saying they're missing Fernandinho, which could be a problem. But I've seen a good few people on Twitter that I follow saying that, it's Sané kind of going down the left side against Southampton, which is where Felipe Anderson got his kind of good fortune for the goals. Not good fortune, but he was playing down that same side, so that could help Sané if you're looking at keeping him. I do think with the amount of midfield options we've got right now, if I look at my team, I'm going to want Salah soon. I'm probably going to want a Man United midfielder. I should probably already have Son if I'm not bringing him in this week. And therefore, there's probably not quite the space to have Sterling and Sané. And the big kicker for me with Sterling was he was going to be my captain option, while people were captaining Kane. That's what I thought people would mostly get drawn to. And the City would keep on scoring goals. Sterling would be at the forefront of that. And now I'm a bit wary about captaining him. I'm not going to captain him against Liverpool. And then the away games, yeah, he could do all right there, but Hazard's doing really well as well. I've got Aubameyang, maybe get Kane as well this week. So there's a lot of options. And again, if you've got Son, you're probably looking at captaining him this week. So suddenly the captain option is maybe not gone from Sterling, but people are less wanting to do that. And I think for over 11 million, you've got to be wanting to captain those players at some point. So for me, I'm thinking about getting rid of Sterling this week and keeping Sané. I think Sané's nice because he's a cheaper price. And while Mendy's out, you pretty much think he's going to start most games. Whereas Sterling, Mahrez is there and he's always going to be a problem for Sterling starts. And obviously just not performing for an 11 million midfielder. I do think with the fixtures they got coming up, if you discount the Liverpool game, there's definitely goals there. And I don't think the Man City have just turned into a really poor team overnight. So I'm not getting cold feet completely. For me, I've got 2 free transfers, which probably makes it more appealing to get rid of one of them because I can keep the other one and have a free transfer still. So for me, I can see why people are getting rid. I think if you've got 2, then yes, you could look at getting rid. If you've just got Sané, though, I think I'd be keeping him. Liverpool game's not great, but the games outside of that are pretty good. Man United options, obviously a lot of people went for Martial last week. Hopefully he'll be back this week. I think it just basically comes down to him or Pogba. Pogba is the most nailed. He's going to play, you'd imagine he's going to play nearly 90 minutes every single game. Martial, the thing from here with Man United options is it's very hard to say. Once Lukaku and Sanchez are back, which apparently they're very close, if they don't play the Bournemouth game, they'll probably be back for Newcastle. So that's Martial, Lukaku, Rashford and Sanchez for kind of the front 4 spots. The front 3 spots. So it's 4 of them. And you've got Lingard to consider as well. So I think it gets a bit tricky. Now, my personal view is that Martial has to play because he's been in such good form this season. He scores goals, gets assists. And he's been doing that even under Mourinho. So, has Solskjaer now turned Man United into this powerhouse that's going to score 3+ goals every game? I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens when the fixtures toughen up a bit. But that's the thing with jumping on Man United players right now. They've got Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, Brighton at home, and Burnley at home in the next 5 fixtures. So you don't really need to wait until the fixtures get bad to see. They've got good fixtures to continue on this small sample of form that we've seen under Solskjaer so far. So I definitely want a Man United mid, and I think Pogba's the safest. I think Martial is the most exciting because I think he probably will start most games. I think he needs to for that team. I think Sanchez hasn't done enough so far since he's been at United. I really hope he does well, and he could get the right spot, and Martial continues on the left. But again, where do they fit Rashford in? Does Lukaku stay on the bench? I'm not sure that's going to happen either. I think it'll be Martial, Lukaku plus one more. With Pogba obviously playing every single game. So for me, Pogba, although he's probably a little bit less exciting than Martial, you can't discount 3 assists and 2 goals in the last 5. And we know that his relationship with Mourinho wasn't great, so you've got to think he now wants to show everyone that it wasn't just him sulking, it was Mourinho that was causing the problem, and he can go out and do the business like we've seen him do plenty of times before for France and Juventus. So I think Man United, you've got to go for their options. Looking at the back, I like the look of Shaw. Or Dallo if we knew that he was going to play every week, but I think Young is going to be a problem. So Shaw looks like the more interesting fullback, or Lindelof if you want a nailed on centre back. And I do think the fixtures, Man United have kept like 2 or 3 clean sheets in the 19 games so far. Again, you've got to tell yourself, do you think that will continue? Will Man United only get 2 or 3 clean sheets before the end of the season? I'm not so sure. And if they're going to start getting clean sheets, they've got very good fixtures in the next 5 to do that. So I'm looking at someone like Luke Shaw. I think he's quite exciting. And the fullbacks are being asked to attack, which is probably more so than they were under Mourinho. So I'm looking at Shaw and Pogba. I think Martial is more exciting. And just a little part of me doesn't know if he's 100% nailed, and that worries me a bit. And he's had this kind of fitness concern ongoing for a few game weeks where they've kind of had to give him extra rest as well. So I'm not sure if anything more has been said about that, but that's obviously a worry as well. Kane versus Aubameyang. So obviously this week Kane has Wolves at home, Aubameyang has Liverpool away. The thing I've liked about Aubameyang is his underlying stats have been great compared to Kane for kind of the last 4-6 weeks. But in the last 2 weeks, Kane has slightly overtaken him. And I think if you look at the fixtures, the next 6, Aubameyang has Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City in those next 6. Whereas Spurs only has Man United, and then he's got Wolves at home, Cardiff away, Fulham away, Watford at home, and Newcastle at home. So I think I said Spurs there, I meant Kane. So I'm actually looking at switching Aubameyang to Kane, because I think Kane gives you a captain option if you want it. Whereas I'm not sure how often you're going to captain Aubameyang over those fixtures. Fulham at home looks good. Cardiff at home looks good as well. But for me, I'm probably going to look at getting Kane in this week, potentially. Because I'm just not sure about Aubameyang versus Liverpool. And then maybe use Kane as a Salah make weight later on. So if you've got both, I still think that's too much money wrapped up in the forward line. There's too many good midfielders for less of a price doing well than Kane and Aubameyang. I actually don't know if either of them is really needed. Personally, I'm looking at I'm sticking to 3-5-2, maybe going 2 cheapies up front. And that would let me get basically the lineup I've got now, and Salah as well, instead of Anderson or Richarlison. I've just got to ask myself, will the striker, the cheap striker, outscore Richarlison and Anderson? So it's very hard to say, and I basically wish I could have 6 or 7 midfield slots. But I'm looking at maybe getting Kane in this week, but I'm not sure I would keep him for the next 6. I think eventually I would get Salah in my midfield instead, and maybe do without Kane. But if I was picking one this week, as much as I've loved Aubameyang, I just think with those upcoming tougher fixtures, especially Liverpool this week, I think I'd probably go for Kane if it was me. And that brings us nicely on to captaincy. There's loads of options this week. You've got Hazard against Palace. Do you think Wan-Bissaka will treble Hazard? Could be a problem for him, but he's not really playing too much on the left now. He's playing as a false 9. So hopefully Wan-Bissaka won't be too much of a problem for him if he continues in this false 9 position, which you think he will. So I think Hazard's a good option versus Palace. Salah versus Arsenal, just not for me. Top 6 fixture. I know that Salah's been in good form and he could get something there. And Arsenal have got defensive frailty, so to speak. But Salah, no, I wouldn't captain him personally this week. Which one of the reasons I didn't keep him. Although obviously that's looked like a bad decision over the last few weeks. Spurs versus Wolves, I've already said it a few times. Son arguably is the best captain option this week if he starts. Otherwise, you've got Kane. But personally, I quite like captain in midfielder like Hazard. Or even one of the Man City mids. I still think Sterling or Sané could be looked at this week. Probably more Sané than Sterling. Because there's slight worries whether Sterling's going to start. And you'd pretty much think that Sané will. Seen a few people saying that he might play left wing back or left back. I'm not so sure about that. And obviously Sterling could play on the left and Mahrez on the right, but I just think Sané's going to play. So I think Sané's a good option. Obviously Kane or Son, and I think you've got to consider Hazard. There's loads of options this week. If I could pick one player, if they're all going to start to choose, it would be Son for sure. But even if you bring in Martial or Pogba against Bournemouth, I think that's another 2 or 3 goals in that game. I'm not sure Bournemouth have got quite the defence there to stop Man United on their current, again, small sample size scoring run. I think there could be another 2 or 3 there. So my pick would be Son. I'm probably going to captain Hazard if I keep my team as it is. But if I talk about my plans for a second, it basically comes down to 2 things. Do I keep Sterling or not? If I keep Sterling, I don't really want to transfer out any of my other front 5 or my 5 midfielders, and I can't afford Aubameyang to Kane. So I'd probably just do Keane to Luke Shaw. Now, Dean is obviously someone at Everton who's done really well, and I might look at getting him in, but I want to go for the Man United fixtures and probably get Luke Shaw in, hope the clean sheets come about. If I don't do that, I'll do Sterling to Pogba, and then I have enough money to do Aubameyang to Kane, and I think I might do that because I'm not so sure that I'll need a transfer the week after, so hopefully I could save it then going into the next game week. And like I said, I just think 2 Man City midfielders looks tough right now when everyone else is doing so well. But I do think it could come back to bite us. We've seen patience being rewarded recently, and again, I don't think Man City have turned into a bad team overnight. I don't think that they're going to suddenly start finding it hard to score goals. You know, even though they lost 3-2, they still obviously scored 2 goals. So I don't think Sterling's a must-sell just yet. But with 2 free transfers, I've got to do something. And I can't really afford Aubameyang straight to Kane, so I might do Sterling to Pogba and Aubameyang to Kane. That's currently my front runner. If I decide to keep Sterling and Aubameyang, then it'll be Keane to Shaw. So that's my plans. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. We're back. I've literally been in the house about 2 hours. I've been away for a week. Had some food and then come straight up to record this video. So probably not the best. I'm still getting back into it. I've barely been able to watch a single minute of football over Christmas, which really sucks. Obviously it's great spending time with family and friends, but it sucks not to get to watch any football. I've been that busy. That will definitely change this week, and I'm going to watch a lot of football. And then get the videos back to normal every single week. I don't know when you'll be watching this, probably before the deadline, which is at 2 o'clock on the 29th of December. I'm going to do a live stream before then, so a deadline day stream, or a deadline stream. That'll be at 1:15 UK time until about 2:15, so we can check the team sheets that come out at 3 o'clock. Or sorry, just after 2 o'clock. I'm very rusty. Hopefully I'll get back into the swing of things for Game Week 21. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Leave a comment below with anything, any of your thoughts on what I've said, your captaincy, etc., or any questions you've got. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.